Welcome back to the Joy of Vinyl. I'm Rick Coste. Many entry-level turntables are already set up for you, so you won't have to worry about things like, balancing your tone arm, setting tracking force, or even anti-skate. But what do these terms even mean, and will you ever really care? Well, you might. You might care about it if you begin to upgrade things like your stylus or even purchase a higher-end turntable. Or maybe you found a great deal on a used turntable but have no idea how the previous owner handled it. In that case, you'll want to rebalance the tone arm, maybe replace the stylus, or you should replace the stylus for a used one, and make sure everything is set up correctly. Now, if you've ever wondered about these things, wonder no more. Let's dive in. Now, this won't be a comprehensive video that covers every tone arm or every turntable that you'll encounter, but it should help and get you on your way. What I'm going to talk about will apply to most adjustable tone arms with some slight differences in structure or where things are located, but the concepts are all the same. Now, there are three things to consider. There's balancing, there's setting the tracking force, and the anti-skate. In some cases, you may have a turntable that doesn't allow the anti-skate to be set, like the turntables from U-Turn Audio, where it's already preset for you. If that's the case, there's no adjustments needed. Now let's touch on those terms first. Balancing the tone arm is just like it sounds. You want your tone arm to be as close to level as possible before setting everything else. Tracking force is the amount of pressure that the stylus applies to the record as it glides along the grooves. Imagine, say, ice skating. If you press down hard on the ice with your skate, you'll carve a deeper groove. But if you press too lightly, you might not have enough control and you could slip or glide over the surface without much grip. With your turntable, the tracking force has to be just right. Too much pressure and you could wear out the vinyl or the stylus more quickly. Too little pressure and the stylus might skip right across those grooves or might not even properly read them, which will lead to a loss in sound quality. That's tracking force. But what about anti-skate? That one eludes some folks. As the stylus moves along the record's grooves, there's a natural inward force pulling it towards the center of the record. This can cause the stylus itself to ride harder on the inner groove wall, which could lead to distortion or uneven wear on both the stylus and also on the grooves themselves. So that's where the anti-skate mechanism comes in. It's like an invisible hand that gently guides the stylus so that it stays balanced in the groove, applying just enough outward pressure to counteract that inward pull that I mentioned. So the goal is to have the stylus ride evenly between the two sides of the groove, not favoring one wall over the other. So how do you apply these three terms? How do you apply balancing, tracking, and anti-skate to your tone arm setup? Well, first, your tone arm might look something like this. Maybe not exactly like that, but these are the spots that we're concerned with. Again, some tone arms might not have an anti-skate adjustment. So let's start with balancing your tone arm. First step, and it begins with the counterweight. Yours might have the weight and the tracking adjustment set together just like this. My tone arm has them separated. Now that doesn't change how we balance it. The end result we want to get is still the same. Make sure you do this too on a level surface. First, set the anti-skate to 0 if it's present. For some of the Riga tone arms, because the tracking force adjustment is separated from the counterweight, set that also to 0 before starting to balance the tone arm. The Riga anti-skate is right below the arm, like on mine, which is the moth tone arm. With anti-skate at 0, we are ready. Now, if you have a stylus guard on, you want to take that off too so it doesn't affect the balancing that we're going to discuss. So now, slowly turn the counterweight so it moves back and forth on the tone arm. Cradle the tone arm in that, put the tone arm in its cradle as you do this. Make an adjustment and then check. What you want to see is the arm perfectly level so that it floats there. When the counterweight is, say, too far back, you'll see something like this. If it's too far forward, you might see this. So it'll take some time and adjustment, but don't worry, you'll get it. Now, once the tone arm is balanced, you want to set the arm back in its cradle, back in its rest. Now, if you have one of those counterweights with the tracking force dial, turn the dial on to 0 at this point. Now you've got it set at 0. You have it zeroed out perfect. So you now have it balanced, and you're ready to apply tracking force. Tracking force depends on the stylus you have. Your turntable's manual might tell you what to set it at, but if you say don't have the manual, or you bought your turntable secondhand and it didn't come with it, then just go to the manufacturer's website to find the suggested tracking force. My Ortofon Bronze has a tracking range of 1.4 to 1.7 grams, and the recommended is 1.5 grams, so great. For my tone arm, I turn the tracking dial to 1.5. Now, if you have a style like this, just turn the front dial so that the number lines up. In this example that you see right here, it's set at 2 grams. Now, if you want to be exact and not rely on sight alone, you can purchase what's called a tracking force gauge, like this, to see exactly what it's set at to the milligram. Now, with the arm balanced and the tracking force set, all that's left is the anti-skate, and this is the easiest one. Again, if you don't have it, there's nothing for you to do here. But if you do, remember it's set to 0, so all you need to do is to set it to the same number that you set your tracking force at. Mine is set to 1.5, so I set it at 1.5 here. You may have an adjustment wheel, so set it there. Now, after balancing, after setting the tracking force and the anti-skate, you're good to start spinning. Now, as I mentioned, this is no way a comprehensive enough video to cover every style of turntable and tone arms that you'll come across, but the concepts across the board are really the same. What I just presented should take care of over 90 or more than 90% of what's out there. Now, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can leave a comment or contact me through the Joy of Vinyl website at joyofvinyl.com. And as always, thank you for watching. I hope this helped, and until next time, please take care of yourself and enjoy your records.